more than 50% of the world's population lived in cities, and more than 1 billion people lived in urban slums. Population growth rates are linked to human development through what is known as demographic transition. As industrialization begins, death rates are reduced, but birth rates remain high, leading to rapid. So this is explaining the sigmoid curve, which I've just shown you. At the start, uh, so this is time and population. So it starts with the lag phase, and then we have now this curve is supposed to be smooth. Sorry, uh, is an S-shaped curve. Yeah, some curve like that. So this is what you're explaining at the beginning. Then, as the benefits of industrialization stabilize and become more, so in industrialization in this age, people get better ways of producing food. We produce food quickly. We have invented medicine so people don't die as well. So here, as much. So at the lag here, the initial phase, people, the technology is very low, the sanitation is very poor, there are too many deaths as well, and there are few people, but again, these people are plagued by wars, by deaths, wars, many problems. They don't know how to even about penicillin. I'm told before the 1930s, something like syphilis killed a lot of people. Okay, before we invented penicillin. So disease, and so like here, survival was. Like probability. It's not definite that you'll survive. So you give birth to many children to make sure few can survive. That was the point. Because of poor sanitation, a lot of discoveries, medicine had not been discovered and so on. So in this what is it called? Wait. The logarithmic phase. The We have developed technology, we have developed medicine, a lot of vaccination. So you give birth to children, it's almost 100% chance that they are going to survive. Okay, and of course, resources. There are no competition for resources, and like I've said, then we go to the transition, then the lag phase. We have reached saturation point. Okay, so that's the point being explained. I will not read through, but that is the point. So here is explaining the population growth through the sigmoid curve, which I have explained, and so many things you can explain about the discovery of medicine, also the technology. Like now, we talk about population control. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Also, family planning and all those things. Then we talk about water. Water is essential for life, and you know that it is renewable but very limited. 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water, but less than 3% of the planet is fresh water. So out of the 70%, we can only use 3%. Only 6% or only 0.6% of this is fresh water anyway. So, and what humans and animals need um, is the fresh water. Less than 0.01% of the total water is available for. So you can see the issue that we are dealing with. So again, if we had to convert the 70% into potable water, it's a very expensive process. Uses what we call reverse osmosis. It's expensive, can be done, but it's quite expensive. Okay. Sorry. So growing consumption place local water resource under severe scrutiny twice. Okay, but also, so this is growing industrial and domestic consumption. Agriculture accounts. I think you read this. The 90% of domestic users consume about 11 for yourself. And this book, this was written a while ago, and they projected that by 2025, which is today, two-thirds of the world are predicted to be living under conditions of water stress, where demand for water exceeds the capacity of the environment to meet it. So just to buttress these issues, growth, population growth, and pressure on the resources. So water is just one example of the resource which is under stress, severe stress. So again, how there's a story there which we'll not get into, but this story is basically highlighting the how culture, religion, and so many things influence growth. So there's a story there you will read for yourself. For example, if you the Catholic faith is against family planning and all these things, so likely Catholic family would have maybe 10 children or more. I don't know. Depends on the generation as well. If you go to the Muslims are even allowed to have many wives. So you find a person your age probably already has 5 children. Or the average age I was told was 20 something, isn't it? Um, yeah. So this culture. So this is one thing that just to demonstrate how culture, religion, and all these things will affect the way for the young population. Okay. Again, the level of education. For example, it is a long time for you to go from undergraduate to masters to even have a PhD. It takes a very long time. So you find, for example, a person in their 40, when they have a PhD and already maybe they only have one or only just 2 children, because it takes that time to you know. So you have to maybe you get a PhD when you are 30 or over 30, and that's when you start the process of reproduction. So you find this person will only have maybe 3, 4, 5 children at most. But if you started, I know some of you, I see your comments. Don't think I don't see your comments. Um, will- the point is the culture, the influence of culture on maybe how many children you have and so on. So there's a story there you read for yourself that extracts, and you will agree that that is true. Then there is the international table again. There you read for yourself about the usage of water. So liters per person per day in the world, and it is you can see here the US they consume the most water. I don't know if there's an African country here. There's Ethiopia, and you can see it's very low. And then maybe the average there, you can see all these countries, Denmark, Germany, these are Europe, and illustrate illustrate the water usage in the world. And you can make of this table what you will. The rapid impossible because of dramatic increase in food production. So again, the increase in food production has aided the increase in population, because when there are more, you need to feed them, and this has led to the invention of things like fertilizers and so on, and greenhouses now we have, just to make sure we produce food, enough food commensurate with the number of people that are the increasing population. The Green Revolution of the 1960s and 70s, based on the expansion of irrigation and application of industrial fertilizers, pesticide mechanization, and selective breeding of species, crops, livestock, resulted in dramatic increase of food population. Okay. So the issues of agriculture, so the soil. Another thing that the source that is underwater, no, under pressure is the soil. So we remember we started by saying that we need to use these resources sustainably, but the way we use these resources, we use them faster than we can replace them. Okay, so one resource we've talked about is water. Now we are talking about soil. Okay, um, uh, okay, we just pick a few. The soil again, for under pressure for agriculture, keeping livestock. Even for you where you live, you need water. Yeah, you need, I mean, soil, isn't it? Some piece of land somehow. So this is just to show how much under pressure this is. Then deforestation, because there's increase in population now. You need land for water. Okay, you not water. You need land for agriculture. So when population increases, you need to feed them, isn't it? So if there are forested areas, you cut down because you want to plant food crops. Okay, and this is a real thing. I don't know if you've gone to right now when I drive to Eldoret. I when I reached Tiboroa, I'm surprised. You see, they have been cleared. In my own village, we had a forest. Lambwe forest is cleared. Now they are trying to replant. So this is a real thing, and you see people inside the forest actually planting crops. So one of the initiative I believe is the government or the forest authority is doing. They encourage you to take a piece of land, till it to grow your crops, but at the same time keep the um, um, take care of the trees, so that when the trees grow up, you will have gotten your crops, and then no longer when now it's not possible to continue growing your crops, then you allow the trees now to. But it's a real issue. The quality of forest is also changing within higher losses of primary oil. So again, the forests have changed because traditionally forests had only traditional trees. What is it? The natural forest. But now we have artificial. But anyway, it's okay. We can have is whether it's artificial or natural forest is good. But my point is, I think we still have a few natural forests like in Kakamega. Those who come from them may know that. Okay, and I think the government also has tried to protect some of those resources. Then the Green Belt movement. This is by Wangari Maathai, Professor Wangari Maathai. I leave that also to read for you. She really campaigned for planting trees and so on, and she got Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. Then biodiversity, the human impact on the abundance of diversity of other species has been immense. The current rate of species extinction due to human intervention in the environment has been compared with previous extinction events caused by dramatic geological meteorological changes. So there are some species that are disappearing because of competition. And so the international union, you've heard the other time about the white rhino. I don't know how many are left, but there are very few, less than five. Okay, the white rhino, and you can say as much for many animals and species. You can read this for at your own time, but just to buttress the fact that indeed the resources we have are under pressure. Okay, resources that animals can be useful to solve future problems of health, energy. So we don't have the chance. So if we kept this kind of species, probably we would eventually discover that those plants that have gone to extinction or the animals could be useful for some medicine or something in the future. So again, that's a problem. Then we have other things like oil. Okay, oil, and this is a big issue. Now, there is a nice scientifically we think that oil traditionally when trees started to appear for 6 million years, since when trees started to appear, the bacteria had not evolved to be able to process lignin. So it was lignin that was left to life for several millions of years, and lignin eventually tried to form. Someone is saying Lambwe. Yes, Lambwe. I come from Lambwe, Lambwe Forest. The what was I saying? Bacteria indeed did not evolve to be able to process lignin for millions of years. So trees, the lignin is what eventually, if left lying for a long time, will form oil. Of course, eventually bacteria started shaping up. It eventually figured out how to process lignin, and this is why we no longer are able to find oil. So the oil deposits we find were formed during that age. Of course, this is what we think happened. Okay, and so and then of course oil is a limited resource. It's no longer being formed, and you see a lot of wars in okay, the what you're talking about because of the limited resources. Wars in Sudan, the Middle East, and so on, because of oil and so on. So just buttressing or make the point about limited resources. Okay. Then the climate change. This is nothing new. When we burn oil, for example, we produce greenhouse effect. On average, temperature had increased by I think plus or minus 1 point something degrees. Okay, the average. The effect of that is we have icing because the ice are melting. Now, I usually like what is it? Nat Geo. What is it? Nat Geo World. You see the animals, you know, the way the ice is thinning. The polar bear is trying to spread themselves over the thin ice so that they don't sink and so on. You see the level of the sea rising. The like Mombasa, for example, can be. I'm saying can. I'm not sure, but also it was said sometime that it was sinking at certain rate because of possibly because of this results. You can see now we don't have predictable rain patterns, either too much rain or too little rain, and so on and on. Okay, so all these things we need to think about, and then there's a story there for you to read, and you basically destroy the environment. Okay, sometimes actually even the places that were traditionally very cold during certain times are very hot. For example, Nairobi in June, July was very cold. These days you cannot recognize the June July period is somewhat very hot. If it's cold, it's just a few days. Okay, and yeah, I think many of you can say as much for the parts that were the changes are not no no and changes which are not noticeable in the weather patterns. Okay, so of course those ones have something to do with the CO2 production, the levels of sea. So well, actually what I was telling you, the sea rise 4 centimeters. So you read for yourself, average of 0.76 degrees. So I've already summarized um, what we are talking about, and the scary thing is we are saying that the global average temperatures may rise between 1.1 to 6.4 by 2100. Okay, and then the levels of emissions resulting sea levels between 18 centimeters and 59, and this is serious because it will submerge most of the And you can see now, because based on the level of the sea, there are structures already near the sea. Okay, so if it rises by, this is nearly more than half a meter, you can imagine the effect of that. Okay? So that's then the ecological footprint, with population growth rates highest in developing countries and per capita consumption of resources highest in developed countries. Comparison of relative impacts of different countries' lifestyle, global ecosystems can be difficult. The concept of an ecological footprint allows for such. So, because you see, the developed world, the developed world started using coal ages ago, so their footprint is different from us. Now you can see people talking about what carbon credits and so on. So this is a footprint of different countries. They may not be the same. So the ecological footprint, to be able to compare, and I think the issue of carbon credit has something to do, or something tied to the ecological footprint. Then we have movements. So along these paths, there have been movements. People want to conserve the environment. Uh, Mental text. So these are science writer who had worked the fisheries, discriminate use of pesticides, and for good reason, because are chemicals which eventually enter into our water sources. Okay, the water that we use. So okay, so if we use them, they help with the crop production, but then we need also to think of the downside. Okay, because those are basically chemicals. Okay, so how about, for example, if we could use pesticide that eventually will become less harmful? I don't know. So this is the idea of Carson and all those. So that's the silent spring. Then Neo-Malthusians. Now this one is something people will do not like, but is a reality. This is where the idea of population control came from, where you can um, so because if the so and it's true, if it reaches a point where we have run out of space and resources, even somewhere to produce the food that we take, okay, then you can see the problem. So this is what this person or this had foreseen. So they advocated for controlling population and making sure that the people we have are just enough for, you know, for what the environment can sustain. But of course, there are a lot of pushback, and in our African culture, we do not like to hear the issue of population control at all. We do not want to hear that. Of course, religion also has its own effects. So you can say about that what you will, but this is the idea of controlling population, so to speak. Um, uh, so the details you read, then limits to growth. Um, uh, um, so you read that for yourself, but the point is the resources. The key thing is resources. For in population to increase, you need resources to be able to feed them, for example, resources to be able to treat them if they're sick, you know, and so on. And people have tried to model, even the 9 billion that we said the caveat is from a model from what we've been seeing, and we think but will reach the limit by 2050 of 9 billion. We are yet to see that. The other thing is physical space. Okay, physical space. You cannot grow beyond. You need land where you physically put your house. If there is not that space is a limited factor. Now you've seen people thinking, Elon Musk thinking about the space, Mars, and so on. So because people think that at some point we'll outgrow the space we have in the world. So you'll read that for yourself. Now, students usually don't take this seriously. Please, this is a homework that has to be submitted, including the ones already sent. Do it well. You do it well, and you will have no problem. Do it well. I will take and I will mark it. So, other, some of you think now that we are online, and this is not serious. This is as serious as it gets. And if you fail this course, of course, you will not um, proceed. So take this seriously. Do those assignments. I will pick them and mark them meticulously, and of course award you your marks. If you fail, many of you don't take these things seriously, and then they look for me when they fail. Once you fail, you're already in the university system, and the results need to be processed the way, it's a process. So once it's recorded that you fail, there is no clandestine help. I may not be able to help you much because it's already recorded. You have to go through the procedures. The only way to help you here, take this seriously, do it well, and pass, and you will not have any problem. But if you don't take it seriously, you'll be in trouble. Okay. And of course, this is, for me, this is a very easy course. There are more technical courses that will need more you know there are more technical courses, let me say, that should trouble you. This one is relatively simple, easier, um, and you should pass. There should be no problem. I think I've already explained the sigmoid curve that explains the human growth. Unless you have a question about that. So showing you just how we went and the invention. So you can see, um, here now the sigmoid curve. What happens? So what happens here? Something has to happen for the curve to start. So this is what you're explaining: vaccine, sanitation, and all those things to lead to that economic growth. International development, the idea of limits to growth in order to protect ecosystems to measure. So a lot of stories there which you read, but the point is we need to, because the idea is development will destroy the environment because we extract these things from the environment. That is a fact. All the things we the metals, the watches you have, the phones you have, the metals basically are extracted from the environment. Okay, the cars you like, all these things, and even the process of production produces carbon dioxide that of course leads to global warming and all these things, greenhouse emissions. Your cars have produced uh, greenhouse gases. So the idea was you not control growth, so that these things don't go out of hand. So that's the idea of international development. So you read that again for yourself. So that's why we have all these things: World Bank, the National Monetary, and you've had, for example, when you go borrow to the IMF or to the World Bank, there are certain conditions. They say this has to be done, that, just to fit in the agenda of some controlled or or controlled advancement. So unchecked growth is not good for us. So that's the point. So that is how we came up with the idea of sustainable development. Okay? So sustainable development is, in a way, that there is a sweet spot. There is a trade-off between the benefits of development and and um, the destruction that we met on the environment. And this is why you see sometimes every activity. For example, in Kenya, you need environmental impact assessment. you know how much. And then in the environmental the impact assessment, the client or whoever is taking the implementing the project will be advised on what they will have to do to try to ameliorate the effect, the whatever harm they may have caused to the environment in terms of the what they have done. I remember in my village one time, not really my village, but in a project I was working at, it was environment, no, not an, I mean road project. They were extracting sand to be used for is it the base or the sub base, one of the layers on the what on the road. So they was harvesting sand. When they harvest sand, they leave some what could I call them? Some open, open terminal, open drains where now water will collect. And actually, people died. Some children went to swim there, they died. In any case, that is not a sightly thing to look at. So in one the recommendations was that they once they open up the depression, the place hole or the channel, then they were to collect some backfill material and close it. Okay, but the community they said that that's a source of water for them so so you can see when they were trying to close it back as was the to backfill it as was the agreement, the community refused. But for them, you see, the company, this is saving them money, because when you collect material and backfill, you are using resources. So it's easier if you're told just to leave it, you're not using that. So they like that. So, but anyway, they were advised to fence it nonetheless, because the community had refused. So some of these also require economic, require a community engagement. Okay. So that's what, so sustainable development emerges as a way through conflict trade-offs between environmental protection and economic uh, development and so on. So you read this, because our future, our common future is pegged on the fact that we have a sustainable material or not. Okay, so read that all for yourself. I don't expect that in the exam, if I ask you what is economic development, then some of you may not be able to answer. That would be unacceptable. Then, in the process of having this sustainable development, we have Millennium Development Goals, usually shortened as MDGs. From the Millennium Development Goals, now we have the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Again, now I leave that for you, Sustainable Development Goals, for your own, your Sustainable Development Goals for your. So this is and then you need to do, and I will collect. Now, out of all these things, because of sustainability, the UN, which a body, an umbrella body for most organization, most countries. Okay, so have come up with certain conventions. Okay, certain conventions, just to make sure we have sustainability. So several conventions. May not mention all of them here, but just a few. The Law of the Sea, Montreal Protocol on Substance that depleted the ozone layer. You can find out more about what those things are. The Basel Convention, the climate change, biodiversity, the certification. I'm sure that you had, was it Kazakhstan, one of the last climate conference, Kazakhstan, or one of those Asian countries. We've had Kyoto Protocol and all these things about climate change, just to make sure we have a sustainable development. And there are many other conventions, of course, related to the fact that we need to have sustainable development. And finally, now I'm trying to Once I highlight the key point, I will leave the rest to make sure you read for yourself to get the point. We are in the, this is a society, environment, economy. So there is at the heart of that there is sustainable development. Okay, and to make sure that, that balance is there, that is what uh, we need to ensure there is sustainable development. Okay, I think that's it. Unless there's a question, a lot of complaints. Okay, finally we have economy, society, and environment. Okay, so unless there's something you need to clarify, we need to join back Kenneth for attendance. And if we are orderly, we'll finish it very fast. Okay, unless there's a question. Yes, there has to be an exam. There is, you cannot attend class without exams. So when you mention assignment, yeah, you can see now people are awake. Yes, you have to do an assignment. There will be a cut, and of course there is an exam. There is no way. That is the only way. Yes, the notes I share with the class rep immediately. The civil, you are the people who gave me the class rep, so I don't know why you are talking to. Please talk to the class rep, which you gave me. So I share the notes immediately with her. Okay. Yeah. So there's always once you are taught, there is always an exam. Okay. So let's go back to the other session. Then we take attendance and we can call it a day. You also need a class rep. Sorry, before that, I think we need makeup classes. This is Saturday, so I'll have mercy on you people. But we need makeup. We need, I think, two classes next week. I'll talk to the class rep, and they will indicate what time they'll be. So in addition to the ordinary class, we'll have another class. Okay. No, let's log into Kenneth. People are just saying, let's go back to Kenneth and see. So I will stop sharing my. No, not yet. I will stop sharing my screen. Uh-huh. I don't know why my. Okay, anyway. Let's join back, Kenneth. Let's join back, Kenneth. No, now, please make it quick and then it will be easy on everyone. Eh? Join back, Kenneth, and you make it easy on everybody. So I've already shared with the class rep. So the class rep will have to indicate for me the the times for the makeup. No, no, not makeup. One makeup and one ordinary class in the ordinary time. Okay, So let's join quickly and make it easy and smooth, and you'll be on your way. You'll be. So I also thank you for coming to class on Saturday. It's not. I know people complained a little about it, but it's not my wish that that be so. But I also have a responsibility. So um, yeah. So that we cover the syllabus appropriately, we need to create extra time. Okay. Okay. So let's take attendance. Just mute. Don't. So we start with CPE. CPE, please make this easy. Uh, then everybody would be happy. CPE, let's join. I can still see people on YouTube. So let's do this quickly, easy. Let's start with CPE. Sorry, the my Kenneth is taking a bit while.